Big Z Reviews. Leaving Neverland is a 4-hour documentary directed by Dan Reed about Wade Robson and Jimmy Safechuck and how they were abused by Michael Jackson. And it's on HBO, and there's also an interview with Oprah Winfrey, an hour-long interview afterwards. And as a whole, the whole package, essentially they split it into 2 episodes, and then the after interview, and that as a whole, this documentary is such an interesting and in-depth and valuable exploration of how a child and a child's family can be groomed into the horrible abuse, and in this case, the abuse was done by Michael Jackson. And it is a really tough to watch but important film.
There's no thoughts of this is wrong or anything like that.
He told me if they ever found out what we were doing, he and I would go to jail for the rest of our lives.
Secrets will eat you up. You feel so alone.
I want to be able to speak the truth as loud as I had to speak the lie for so long.
So going into this, I am a fan of Michael Jackson. I'm not a huge fan, but the first 3 CDs I bought myself, I think one of them was a Michael Jackson album. Another one was some other R&B artist. I can't remember exactly who it was. And the third was a Megadeth album. So I have a little bit of eclectic taste in music, even as a kid. But now I more enjoy indie rock music. But I liked Michael Jackson. I liked his music, and I did always believe that he was a pedophile. But I wasn't sure exactly if some of the cases may have been just people trying to get money or what. But after watching this, it is so clear that I 100% believe Wade Robson and Jimmy Safechuck. They are these interviews. If for some reason that you don't want to watch it and want to just say that, oh, why should we listen to a documentary that just talks to the one side of the story? You need to watch it because it is. I mean, it's not easy to watch, but it's so interesting and horrifying at the same time. But I mean, you see these I never really quite understood how the grooming process would work. How the parents would let this happen. But it's so interesting that because Michael Jackson has so much power, he's the king of pop, and they do the things where the family think that they're part of this fairy tale story where they're saving him. He would do the things where he would call them to have him pick him up so he'd stay at their house, and do these things where essentially he's grooming the family. And then they start to groom the kid, and the kids it's because people always go, oh, why are they coming out now 20 years later, and they show that there's so much conflict in the minds of these kids because they loved Michael Jackson, and a lot of times if the pedophile or the abuser is good at what he does, it's horrible to say, but he will, the victims may not know how to feel about it. There may be a person of power, a person of love, a father, a stepfather, a priest, a teacher, a coach, so that they have this level of power, but also level that the kids like them. And also, it's horrible to say, but if someone is playing with your penis, even if you're not fully grown, it feels good. So there's this conflict in your mind as an adult when you look back at it. How would you rationalize what happened? And so instead you block it out, or you don't think about it, or you think that you loved him. And then, but a lot of times, some of these cases, they have these mental breakdowns. When they realize that was not right, that was wrong, I was abused, and it's it really tells the story so well, And you really these long interviews, like with Wade Robson and Jimmy Safechuck, and with the family of the two men, like it's very well crafted from Dan Reed. And I really like too that it'd be so easy to over dramatize a movie or dramatize a movie, to make it all about Michael Jackson and about how he's like, all about him. But it's not. It's about these two kids that were like 7 and 10 when the abuse started, and they were abused for years. And I really like too that there's a lot of evidence, like intersposed within the interviews. Like they have a lot of evidence. Like the one he would constantly send them hundreds of faxes back and forth, and like the way they talk is not normal. Like they formed a relationship, and multiple times throughout the film, the documentary, I got really emotional, especially with Jimmy Safechuck. He, I think, is maybe not as far along in the process of coming to terms with what happened as Wade Robson is. And Ray Robson, he also has a lot of money, and so he's had more therapy too, and he's came out a couple years ago before, and that like I felt more with Jimmy when he was talk about things. Like you feel the depths of the pain, but also like the conflicted inside his soul. Like I could feel his soul, like when he's talking and what about things. I've never, like, in most documentaries you don't really get that, but something about how it's filmed and how his emotion came across, like you really can feel the pain in his soul. Like I think, especially like one of the most interesting things was when he's showing his jewelry box of all the jewelry that Michael Jackson gave him, and a lot of it was like for performing sexual acts. Whenever he would do it, he would buy him a jewelry. He said he loved jewelry, and one of the pieces of jewelry is the wedding ring. And like him, Michael Jackson got married like privately, like when they're locked in the room together, they got married. So I mean, there's this conflict. You see, like, and he puts it away. Like, I don't like to look at it. Like, but you can see when he's holding it, he has like good memories about the jewelry. Like there's so many different and odd and uncomfortable feelings wrapped up in this. And I loved how the documentary presented all this information and all of this, like when they describe how they met, both of them were like Michael Jackson impersonators. Like they did contests, and then like the one from Australia, he wanted to be a dancer, like, and he did, he became a dance choreographer, very very successful. And that they throughout his life that that when some of the other kids would try to take him to court, and they had to go on the stand as a witness for Michael Jackson, saying that he never harmed me. And you see how he did, like how he manipulated them, like how he would say that if our love is something that no one can know about, is something that if anyone finds out, I'll go to jail for my life, and so will you. You'll go to jail for the rest of your life if anyone finds out about our relationship. And it's just that grooming process is just so well defined and horrifying. And you really have to blame the moms for letting this happen. Unless at least one of the dads killed himself. And like really the mom, like for the Australian one, they took him away from the kids away from the rest of their family and brought him to Los Angeles to be with Michael. And that he would like I guess it seems like some of the stuff that they're kind of like they're star fuckers. That they wanted to get famous and important, and they thought that this was his path to it. And they did. I mean, Michael Jackson bought them houses and stuff. I mean, Michael Jackson paid these families off. And even though they didn't sue him until later, but at the same time, like you understand that like he was grooming the families as well, but still you have to blame the the families for letting this happen, because I mean, even if you don't believe anything that they say in this movie, like there is hard proof that Michael Jackson would lock himself in a room with little boys and be in the same bed for weeks. and like, so nothing happened. He never touched inappropriately any of them. I don't believe it. Like, I don't see how you can not believe that. And if it wasn't Michael Jackson, it was just some random guy that you know that was having a kid in his bed for weeks and locking the door and having it, if anyone came up the hallway, it would make noises in the room to let them know so they can put clothes on and they can unlock the door or whatever, or get ready. You know, it's so apparent, especially if you watch, there are other, not even part of this documentary, but there are old videos of Michael Jackson with these boys, and it's just so apparent that something's not right with that. And hearing these stories is just horrifying. And like, I think it's really valuable though for other people that may be victims, to help them understand that it's not their fault, and that they were abused, and that there is so many different emotions wrapped up in this abuse. I hope that this really helps people come to terms, because it is a very well crafted documentary. And also too, like the interview afterwards, I really like that too. There's a lot. It goes into more about, she directs the questions, and I really like what they did with that. I don't really want to give a score to this movie or rating out of 10, but I would say this is, I think, a must watch. Like, even this, especially the stuff about the actual abuse, is very tough to watch. Like, everything else is so important, I think, for us to come to terms with something that happens way too often, and to look for and know the signs, and try to know the people that were abused, that they can come forward, and it's safe for a kid to come forward. But the problem is that when they're kids, they may not understand, and because of the grooming process, they may like their abuser, but then you have to have something when they come out later, when they're adults, and they realize that that what happened was wrong. And that was so interesting. It's like both of them, Wade Robson and Drew Safechuck, they didn't really realize what it was so wrong until they had kids. They had a son, and they realized that that is not okay. That it is not normal for me. Because until they had their own kid, they didn't realize that that was not normal, because they wanted to protect their own kids. So it's like, how could that have happened to me? How could it happen to them? Like, it's so interesting. And I really think that I almost wish that it wasn't on HBO. Like, I hope that HBO does something and releases it in some more way, and they maybe partner with one of the other like cable shows, or even like ABC or NBC or some other show to so that it's just not behind the paywall of HBO. Like, put on YouTube. Like, I know, like, they put the Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, they put on YouTube. You could put this on YouTube for free and let people watch it that don't have HBO. I hope more people see this. It's a very worthwhile thing to have in our culture, to understand how this happens. And the Michael Jackson fans and their estate can try to bash these people for coming out, but I mean, I 100% believe them. But thanks for watching. You can check out the playlist on my head and subscribe to me at Z over there. Thanks. This has been a Big Z video. Thanks for watching.